Okay, right. Hey, Elisa. I think we're live. Thanks for inviting me onto the film review show.
You're welcome, Rich. And hi, Michal, as well. Hello.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me today.
You're welcome.
Great to see you. Hey, the film that you've recommended it's a heart-wrenching film. It was a tricky watch.
Yeah, not any spoilers on your review there, Rich, I
hope. Oh, right, okay. I'd not thought that one through, had I? Okay. In a way, there's a sense in which when the film opens, you kind of, it sets the scene for the whole film. So I hope there's no spoilers. It's 1 o'clock. Over to you, Elisa.
Over to me. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Engine-ius film review. My name is Elisa. I am the assistant producer at Somerset Film. We are usually based at the engine room, but today we are based in our bedrooms. Welcome, thank you so much for joining us. We are still in the early days of developing this film review, but we're so happy that you're here, and we hope that you'll join us for many more. I'd like to introduce my guests today. First, if I could please introduce Richard Tomlinson, who also happens to be the tech genius behind today's event. Richard?
Yeah, hello. Don't say tech genius just in case it's not going according to plan, but hopefully all is going well. Thanks, Elisa. Thanks for inviting me to the review show today. It got me in a position where I watched a film I otherwise might not have watched.
I'm so happy to hear that. And for our audience that don't know you, Rich, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I work over at the engine room in Bridgewater in Somerset, home to Somerset Film, and I work there as a creative technologist. So I'm involved in a little bit of filmmaking and facilitating photography projects, digital media projects, and yeah, all kinds of stuff that is kind of lens-based or digital-based. Creativity is always at the heart of it, hopefully.
That's it. Thank you so much, Richard.
Right.
And over to you, Michal. Hello.
Hi, Alisa. Thank you for inviting me today.
You're welcome. It's so nice to have you here. Would you be able to tell us and our audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So I work for Community Council for Somerset, where I am BAME, a community engagement officer, and on a daily basis we support minority groups in Somerset, and we are hoping, by doing that, we are hoping that they develop in the right direction and they achieving their goals more or less. So if you would like to find out more, please find us on Facebook, Somerset Diverse Communities, or check our new website.
Amazing, thank you. I'm so happy to have both of you on board, and I'm really excited to see what you thought about the film. I know we all come from very different backgrounds when it comes to this film. So it's going to be, I think, a really exciting chat. I do just want to start with a short statement, because of course we are reviewing Fruitvale Station today. Which is a very relevant film at the moment. I'd just like to say that Somerset Film has established a reputation of inclusion, and we are passionate about diversity and equality, and we work tirelessly to reduce the digital divide. Now, we understand that film and digital content is a powerful way to approach difficult topics such as racism. And we would like to take this moment to let you know that we recognise the significance of Black voices in our industry and beyond. And we stand in solidarity with all those who are facing systemic racism. Now, it's our mission to champion the voices of marginalised groups and individuals. And of course, we understand that a statement of solidarity is not enough, which is why we've decided to review Ryan Coogler's Fruitvale Station, which is a biographical drama based on the events leading up to the death of 22-year-old Oscar Grant, who was shot point blank. And this is a spoiler, I do apologise. mute it if you don't want any spoilers. I'm sorry, but these events are all too familiar today, but he was shot point blank whilst lying on his stomach. He was unarmed and he was shot by a police officer. Now, this film follows the last 24 hours of Oscar's life, played by the fantastic Michael B. Jordan. And the film invites the audience to experience the tender as well as the challenging aspects of Oscar's life and personality. So yes, we just wanted to start with that statement. And of course, if you have any thoughts or any feelings or any feedback, most importantly for us, then please do get in touch at info@Somerset Film. We are learning and we would want to do much more to support in any way that we can. On that note, and we've had a short synopsis, I would like to invite you, Michal, to give us a review of the film yourself. What were your thoughts, your feelings?
Yes, thank you. So I must admit that I watched that film just the day before yesterday, so I think it's quite fresh. And as you've mentioned, it's a true story of Oscar Grant, a 22-year-old man who wakes up on the morning of December 1st of 2008. And my impression was that the movie is an act of imagination and compassion, reconstructing the final, as you've mentioned, 24 hours in the life of Oscar Grant. And it was quite difficult to assess the person, the main character at the beginning, because he wasn't an angel, that's for sure. Oscar turns out to have had a police record, and the movie shows him as an ex-convict, a drug dealer, and a guy who cheated on his girlfriend, the mother of his child. So he was showing that was one face of Oscar. However, he's also shown as a caring person who was trying to look after his daughter, help his sister, look after his girlfriend, who was in close relationship with his mother. And mother, I think she's a second main character in this film, a very strong character. So who nota bene had a birthday on that day. And in my opinion, it's a very symbolic situation, because it's a celebration of her birthday in the end of the year, and his death took place on the first day of the new year, where people usually make some resolutions. And it shows him as someone who was making attempts to reform himself. You get those sense when he decides not to sell the drugs, when he wants to change the path that he is crossing on. So you with the film, you are gaining some sympathy with the main character. You try to give him that act of faith that you are believing that he will change. Unfortunately, he was murdered by the police in the early hours of on 1st of January 2009. So we can try to guess whether Oscar really was on the verge of turning his life around. Nobody's perfect, but no one deserves to be murdered, especially by those who supposed to protect us. And what struck me was the similarity between the story of Oscar Grant and George Floyd these days. It seems like the history has come a full circle.
Yes, that was a really powerful moment. I would agree with you, Michal. Thank you for that review. It's really interesting to see how you felt about the film and as you said, how it came across. I was quite stunned by the moment where the police were on top of Oscar. And as you said, that image, I think, will stay with a lot of people for a very long time. It's terrifyingly similar. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I will come back to you, because I think you will have, I would be curious to hear about your opinion and how it ties in with your work a little bit as well, in terms of inclusion and diversity, as well, of course, equality. And Richard, what were your thoughts on the film, your thoughts and feelings?
Yeah, hello. So, yeah, I watched the film early this morning, and yeah, as I mentioned earlier, otherwise I might have otherwise not seen it. So thanks for inviting me onto this. So the film opens with footage of the actual terrible incident that took place at Fruitvale Station in 2009. So from the outset, and throughout the film, we know we're heading towards some sort of tragedy. So every scene that you see, some of which are really beautiful moments of Oscar with his family, there's even laugh out loud moments in the film. It's all weighed down by this knowledge of something terrible and tragic and unjust is going to happen. So you carry that with you all the way through. And of course, as Michal says, you know, this film is timely. It resonates with our current conversation, following yet another tragedy in America. Though, of course, the film should resonate at all times. It should be a conversation we're having as a society at all times, not just when there's a tragedy. So that opening footage that we see is shot on a mobile phone, again, which chimes with, you know, recent tragedies in America. And it's a reminder that the mobile phone has become a last line of defense. And that, you know, that thing that cops can shoot with their guns, the oppressed can only shoot with their phones. And even when that hard evidence is gathered, justice still doesn't appear to be, you know, carried out. So I call this an account of history rather than a story. It is a story, but this actually happened. So it's the account of, as Michal was saying, of a man who appears to be making a few New Year's resolutions. He's going to be a better father, a better partner, a better father. He's got that zip of weed that he throws into the sea. He's trying to put that life behind him. And we follow Oscar throughout the whole movie. In a way, we take a ride with Oscar through this film. We meet his family, his friends. We see his willingness to help out a stranger. And in that sequence, I know you're going to ask what's one of the best lines in the film a bit later, but there's a moment in that scene that's a really funny line, and it's, you know, it kind of offers some light relief, I guess. We get a glimpse of, you know, the pain that he feels and the frustration that he feels when he tries to get his job back. He's not able to get his job back. He confronts his old boss. We ride with him in the car when he's taking his daughter to nursery. And we ride with him on the train. And there's those sequences of the station as the train disappears down the tunnel. And there's that sense of fatalism. And when we see that train disappear, the director seems to rest the camera on that shot of an empty station for quite some time. And that's obviously deliberate. It gives us time to think. We've already seen those opening sequences, so we know that something terrible is at the other end of the line. I actually looked the word fatalism up, and it's the belief that all events are predetermined and therefore inevitable. So that upset me as well, just reading that definition. So there are significant moments in the film that don't seem to directly link to the account as well. But they are significant moments, and I've listed some of them. So there's the lovely moment when Oscar secretly hands a bag of sweets to his daughter before she goes into nursery. And maybe that's there to remind us that he's carrying other secrets as well. The way he hid the zip of weed in his trousers, or as the Americans say, in his pants. It's the same way he hid the card that he bought his sister to give to his mother for her birthday. And there's the sequence with the dog that gets hit by the car. So Oscar clearly felt an affinity to this dog. And the dog's life was snuffed out, and the body left on the sidewalk. And there's a moment where he shouts, "Somebody help!" But it's an empty street. There's nobody there to help. And then there's, interestingly, that moment where he meets that fellow traveller, whose life seems to be in order, but this is the story of the guy who Oscar noticed that he was married. He was wearing a wedding ring, and he said, "Yeah, I stole that wedding ring." And there's that sense in which almost, legitimizing that idea that to get ahead, you've got to do a few bad things along the way. And then, of course, there's that terrible injustice. The statements at the end of the film, the police officer did get charged with first-degree murder, but then the next slide tells you how long he served. And, there's lots of great quotable lines in it. And I know you're going to ask about that in a minute, but just sort of summarizing my thoughts on the film, it's a heartbreaking moment when, his mama says that she told him to take the train. Why don't you take the train? It'll be safer. She was only trying to protect him. So it's heart-wrenching account of a man trying to get his life in order that everybody should watch.
Yes, thank you, Rich. I would strongly agree with that statement. It almost feels like this should be a compulsory watch. Thank you both so much. It's so interesting to hear how it's impacting people, because I think this is a very impactful film. And as you said, Rich, not just right now, but it should be really like that all of the time. I absolutely loved this film for not only the power of it, but also for the beauty of it. I thought it was wonderfully put together. The handheld camera put you in that family's home. It almost was kind of coming from a lower angle. So when you saw that wonderful moment where they were cooking together as a family, you felt, I was reminded of being a child at the sink myself and kind of looking up, and the smells came in, and it just entirely created the atmosphere, and you felt like you were with the family. And I believe that is beautifully executed by the cameraman and of course the director as well. To me, this film was a film about humanity, and I think that is one of the things that it did so well, is that, as Michal said as well, it's not a film about a perfect man. It's about a man, and none of us are perfect, but he was doing his best to turn things around. And of course, we all know that life after incarceration, and oftentimes life before incarceration for certain demographics, has a lot of challenges, and the odds are stacked against certain people, definitely more than others. The film did have great humor as well. I thought that moment where his sister kind of says, "Oh, I can't make it to Mum's birthday, will you get her a card?" And he said, "Oh, don't get her one of those white people cards." And then of course he rocks up with a white people card, and I just thought it was brilliant. It was so nuanced. It wasn't too on the nose, but there was that foreboding feeling of you knew what was coming. You knew what was coming the whole time, and you fell in love not just with the protagonist, but with his entire family, almost scene by scene. And I think that is, to me, the essence of why I love film, because it just is a breeding ground for empathy I don't think anybody could watch this film and not be moved by the relationships and by the experiences, and even that little moment of the white ally, the woman that he had met in his workplace, and seeing her outrage as well. And I think that was, in a way, a somewhat hopeful moment, because the people were angry. All of the people were angry. It wasn't right. So yeah, I think I could speak for hours actually on this film. So if anybody would like to discuss it further, by all means message us on Facebook at Somerset Film, or send us an email. We'd also really encourage you to send us in your film reviews. We will be doing our best to edit this into a podcast after, so there's no reason, we'd absolutely love to put your feedback in as well. As Richard mentioned, I do also want to discuss maybe a favorite line or a favorite scene. If anybody has, maybe Michal, if I hand it over to you, do you have any favorite scenes or lines or moments that stood out?
Oh yes, there were two scenes where I remember quite good, and which basically I was following with some kind of attention. The first one was when his mother was visiting him at the prison. And when he said to tell my daughter that I love her, and she said, tell her yourself next time. And she basically drawn the line that that's it. She won't come back here to visit him. He needs to change his life. He needs to be a responsible man. He's got a daughter, and no one else responsibilities to tell his daughter that daddy loves her. That was the first one. And when he was stabbed by the guards, and basically he wasn't allowed to follow her, he was shouting. She was calling her mom, mom, and she was just walking. She was just leaving him. But you could tell that she doesn't do that because she doesn't love him. She's doing that because of she loves him, and she wants all the best for him. That's the first one. And the other one was, Richard has mentioned about it already, and I do believe it's very symbolic, as when that dog was run over and there was nobody around, and he was calling for help. And the life was just, passing by, everything was fine, and the dog was dying. And I found that the connection between what was going to happen in the end of the day. So yes, those two scenes I will remember, definitely.
Thank you, Michal. Yeah, absolutely. Such powerful moments. And that's some tough love from the mum, and it's a powerful move. And I mean, it seemed to be working as well, which, mums know best, don't they? And thank you, Michal. What about you, Rich? Any scenes or lines that particularly stood out to you or moved you, perhaps?
Yeah, hello again. As I mentioned earlier, cinematically, those moments on the station, I think there's 3 or 4 moments perhaps where you see a train disappearing down a tunnel, and the camera, actually it's interesting you talking about those moments in the kitchen that are handheld camera moments where you're almost there with them, preparing that meal. That's so kind of beautifully edited, and it really sort of seems to get to the heart of the idea of family and celebration, and you feel that you're almost in there, with that family. By contrast, those scenes on the station, it's a static camera, it's cold, the colours are grey, there's not really much colour in those shots at all. The train disappears, but interestingly, the camera stays just shooting that empty station for just a few seconds longer than an editor would normally allow that to happen. Mm-hmm. So clearly those moments are designed for your own contemplation. That's what I took from it anyway. you know, in terms of the dialogue, there's that thing that I was talking about earlier where there's some really lovely moments where you feel you really get to know these characters, and there's the moment where Oscar just phones his grandma when he's in the food stall, and the woman next to him doesn't know which fish to use, and there's a great line. You know, his grandmother speaks to Oscar and says, she doesn't know how to fry fish, or she doesn't know what fish to fry, as if, you know, this is unbelievable. So there's real laugh out loud moments like that. And then by contrast, the very last 2 words in the film are voiced by Tatiana, his daughter, and it's just, where's daddy? And then the screen goes to black. And again, actually, interestingly, thinking about it now, to lead up to that, to those 2 words, where's daddy, she's in the shower with her mother, isn't she? And
yeah,
that scene is quite a long scene. It's maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and there's no dialogue. And it just cuts, you just see the profile of Tatiana, and then she says, where's daddy? So, you know, it was just kind of, it's just kind of that idea of building up to just those 2 simple words.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rich. That was definitely a powerful moment. I mean, what a way to end a film. I also had some standout moments. I think one of the moments that really got me is I think this film did a really great job of challenging stereotypes and not feeding into vilifying or kind of this sense of martyrdom either. You know, he was very much a person above all else. And I love the moment where they were on the train on the way to the New Year's countdown, and this other black man joins the train, and there's a bit of tension, and you think, oh, like, what's going to happen? You know, this, and it kind of challenges that perception of kind of fear sometimes around the community or intimidation. And he gets out some speakers and they have a party. And I just thought, yes, like that was brilliant. You know, we think we know things that we know nothing about a lot of the time, which I loved. And I also loved that moment. There was no sound, not diegetic or non-diegetic, after his passing, where he simply had his daughter on his back. And that's personally when I really felt an emotional breakdown happening. It was a really powerful moment because you saw the future of that little girl without her father, and also the future for Oscar that wasn't to be. To me, that really stood out as well. We have only got a few minutes. I would just like to invite any closing statements. I don't know, Michal, if you have anything to say about your work as a BMA officer and this film at all. No pressure if not. But
yeah, that's absolutely fine. Thank you for that opportunity. Yes, I think that due to the challenges that we face these days and what is going on in many capitals and countries around the world, due to the recent incident in the United States, I do recommend to watch that film in order to have our own perspective and see the story behind, not only because it's easy, in the end of the day, it's easy to judge and it's easy to follow your own agenda. And as someone wiser than myself said, people that have views but not wisdom. So sometimes we just need to see other layers to understand what is behind the whole story, the whole picture.
Beautiful, thank you. Absolutely. And Rich, any closing statements from you?
No, I just echo exactly what Michal has said. You know, I think earlier on I said that this is clearly a film that resonates with what the conversation we're having at the moment. But you know, it's very important that we have that conversation all the time. And you know, I know that you know, Michal and where Michal works over at CCS, sorry, and certainly at Somerset Film, you know, we're very much about providing a voice, providing a platform through creativity at Somerset Film for the whole community. So yeah, this film for me certainly you know, added to the perspective that I hope I already had, but you know, it's certainly, you know, as Michal said, you know, everybody should watch it. It will inform you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Rich. That's great. I do want to take this opportunity to invite any viewers to contact us. We would love to hear what films you'd like us to review. And as I said, send in your reviews. Please keep an eye out on our social media, so Somerset Film, which is on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Our next review will be Monday, the 13th of July, so the second Monday of the month. We will let you know as soon as we've decided on a film. So by all means, get your suggestions in as quickly as possible, because we do like to plan ahead. If you would like to appear on here as well, the more the merrier. If you feel that you have something that you'd like to discuss, or that you are a good person to review films for, you know, any reason, it could be just as simple as you love movies, that's completely valid, then please do contact us. If you are under the age of 16, then please send us a message, or ideally your parents. We'll see what we can do, but of course we want to keep you safe. So I just want to say a huge thank you. We're coming to the end of our review. Thank you so much, Michal. Thank you so much, Rich. Thank you for watching. We will be posting this on our YouTube channel at Somerset Film, so you're free to share it with anyone who you think might be interested in this film, or simply in films. Thanks again, and we hope to see you again soon.